live. Welcome to Fantasy Football Sunday. This is week 14. I haven't done any of the previous weeks, but we're going to go ahead and get into it. Just to give you a little background info, I've been playing fantasy football for almost 20 years, so I figure like, oh, hey, maybe I should just kind of stream this because this is basically just another version of gaming. I don't know what the community would want out there, but hey, let's just get it going. Just for funsies, I usually play in multiple leagues every year, so the only fantasy sport that I do is actually just fantasy football. I used to do fantasy basketball, fantasy hockey, and fantasy baseball. It was just too time consuming with setting lineups every day. So what's there to do? Well, you just gotta do what you can. And football is the sport that I'm the most knowledgeable about, having played it for several years. So it just kind of was just the natural thing that, okay, I'm just gonna stick with fantasy football. That's my one fantasy sport, and I'll just stick with it each year. And usually I enter about between 3 and 5 leagues, depending on what's available. I always enter for shits and giggles one Yahoo Public League, just to see kind of like what the teams are out there, whether if I do it before the season starts or I do it like a week after. Sometimes you just need to a little beat them up on some randos that you don't know. Also, you never know if you're gonna run into somebody who's just like, has a draft insight that you just don't know, or a pickup insight that you just don't know. So it's just always paying attention to it. But anywho, the first thing that I actually want to kind of start off with is what I usually do every week, and it's over on Reddit Fantasy Football. It's this accuracy challenge, and it's the basically, who do I start, that type of thing. Actually, the first thing I need to do is I need to make sure that my lineups are intact, because I got some things that I need to take care of. Alright, so let's take a look at my first league. So this league that I've been playing in is my Todd Sato Memorial League. I've been playing in this league for almost 20 years. This is the one that was the gateway for me into fantasy football. So it is a keeper league. I don't know if you are familiar with that format, but keeper league is essentially like, hey, depending on the rules of your league, you're allowed to keep X amount of players at the end of the year that you drafted or ended up on this team. The how we do it is that you are only allowed to keep players that are drafted, and you can only keep players for up to 3 years. No first round picks can be kept. So always make sure that you know your league settings, because that will determine how you score. So that's the way to go. Also see that I get notifications on my phone like, oh, such and such picked up this player. So let's take a look at my Todd Sato Memorial League. We're gonna look at our league settings because you need to understand what you're doing. So if I only remember where the leagues there we go, league settings. Okay, so let's look at the league settings. This one is normally different. The Yahoo standard that all of you are used to seeing, we do 10 teams in this league. The standard that you guys are all used to seeing now would basically be over here on this right side. You have the Yahoo draft value, and this is versus our league. So we give more passing yards, or 20 yards per point for the QB, and instead of doing 4 points for a touchdown, we actually do 6 for a passing touchdown. Normally when you play against QBs in any league, QBs only get 4 points for passing touchdowns, even though it's 6 on the field. We decided we were going to do it that way since QBs end up throwing a lot of touchdowns, between 1 and 4 or 5 or 6 a game, usually between 1 and 4. However, though, we made it a higher interception penalty. So instead of only getting -1 for an interception, we get -3 in our league. So you definitely want to make sure that you have a quarterback that takes care of the ball, because if you look down here also, we have a higher penalty also for losing fumbles as well too. This I kind of feel is kind of pro of our league, is the fact that we make sure that whatchamacallit, coming back over here, excuse me for 1 second, there is a difference between how hard it is to pick a starting running back versus how hard it is to pick a starting wide receiver. Granted, the tier drop off between starting wide receivers can be pretty huge. However, though, it's easier to accumulate receiving yards than it is to accumulate rushing yards. So in our league, we decided we were going to value rushing yards more than receiving yards. Since passing yards are tiered, we figured, well, why don't we just tier off receiving yards as well too? So receivers are not as much of a premium in our league. This isn't a PPR league or a half PPR league as well. So so we don't have to worry about points per receptions and those types of things. Interesting enough, if we look at our other league value that we got right here, normally here's the Yahoo value for sacks. We were just like, fuck it, we're just gonna make sacks worth 2, interceptions worth 3. So we really wanted to place a higher premium on defenses and how they score. However, though, there are bigger penalties for what you allow your defense to score. So, granted, if your team allows up to 35 points a game, you're going to get -4 off the top, and that's subtracted from like sacks, fumble recoveries, interceptions, etc. As well as, hey, you don't want your team to allow yards as well too. So we factor in, hey, since we're calculating offensive yards, Yahoo, you don't have the standard leagues, you don't have this option. It's not in there. But however, though, if you wanted to make this option in your league, you have these other values. So we definitely have a little bit of a premium of our defense. Like, hey, not only do we want them not to score points, but we don't want the opposing team to gain yards too. So we get a little bit of a little pro aspect in our opinion that we feel. But anywho, let's go back to the league and let's look at what we got right here. All right. So my matchup this week, okay, is currently against the guy who's in first place. Again, this league is actually different than any others. All other leagues we normally do head-to-head. This one's actually a rotisserie league where at the end of the season, whoever finishes in first place, and if there's a tie with the most points, they're going to win. So we don't do playoffs at all. So this is all about, hey, this is just a long campaign. So currently we basically have 4 teams that are in it, with this 5th team with the outside chance. Hey, yo, Mahomes to Hilaire. Who do you think is going to be on their team? Patrick Mahomes and Clyde's Edward-Helaire? Yes, so definitely. So I'm currently in the hunt right now. I had a losing or a loss last week, or the week before. That was pretty bad. However, though, I need to prep my team, and let's look at what we got. Also within our league, since we are a little bit more of like maybe an expert league, we decided that, hey, we're only going to allow 10 moves for the entire season. So we built in an extra roster, a couple extra roster spots due to like COVID. However, we only allow 10 moves total in our league. So this is kind of insane. Normally you're just like, oh, free pickups. Well, you have to really focus on the draft, as well as you have to make sure that you are wise with your pickups. And in this case, I have burned through all of my pickups just to ensure that I am in 3rd place. There's about 4 pickups that were just like a complete waste of garbage that didn't help me in the long run. And so usually that's the problem that I run into in this league. However, though, I am pretty set with what I got. Okay, looking at this thing. Currently, I am a level diamond in Yahoo. I didn't know if you know any of these tiers, but this is basically what it is. So when you start off at Yahoo, you start off a fantasy football team. You start off on this bronze level, and as you accumulate wins each week, you end up moving up more and more tiers. So you get points. Basically, on this one, because I was 4-1 and I was lastly inside of this platinum tier, basically only bumped me up 8 points. Usually, if you end up going like 5-0, it'll bump you up like 20, 30, 40 points, depending on what tier that you are coming from. And just so you can see the amount of games that I've actually played in my career. It's about 432 wins, 312 losses, with a winning percentage of 581. So not too bad. Personally, for myself, it's always about trying to finish and stay within this diamond range, as well as trying to get more and more to this. We want like a 60% winning threshold per week. That's just like a personal goal of mine. That's what I try to do. Alrighty, let's go on to this Sunday. Okay. All right, so currently for this league, I currently have Justin Herbert as my starting quarterback in my lineup. On my bench, I actually have I have one other good quarterback, which is Josh Allen. So it's always like, well, who do I end up wanting to go to? Do I go with Justin Herbert or Josh Allen? That's just kind of the tough thing to do. So I can kind of compare my team and see what I got. I can look at where I'm at projected. Honestly, I do like picking my teams on mobile for some reason. I do like picking my teams on mobile. It just feels a little bit better. However, though, you get a lot more information that you can take in via the actual desktop app. But let's just go back and let's just look at my team. Alrighty, so we got him playing against Atlanta. So who do I want to go with, him or Josh Allen against Pittsburgh? We definitely want Justin Herbert. This, we're hoping, is a shootout. Atlanta's defense is shit, so we're keeping with that. Corey Davis, he's been on fire. Let's look at what's been happening with him. So looking at week 10 to week 14, we can grab these stats, which is kind of nice. We can also look at projected stats. Hey, and this is what is projected with them. So let's go back to, no, we don't want projected stats. We want current stats. We want week 10 to 14. Again, if you're looking at the wide receiver scores, they're going to be lower because we definitely value them lower in our league. So comparing him with my other wide receivers, Travis Fulgham, man, that guy just fell off. He was pretty good hotness at the beginning and then just tanked off. So he's done. Realistically, we're just going for this week, so we're gonna look at projected stats. We're looking at this one. Corey Davis has a pretty good shot at doing pretty decently. Let's look again at what he's been doing over the past few weeks. So for the weeks 10 through 14, okay, and when did he have his bye? Let's see. Corey Davis had his bye. Come on, where did you tell me? Oh yeah, he had his bye week 4. So, and always make sure that you're looking at the fantasy notes. That is just quite important. So in the past 5 weeks, we know that he is the 14th highest scoring receiver in fantasy football over the past 5 weeks. So I was lucky to snag him up this week. He was still available. It was kind of funny, like I barely squeaked by last week, and the player that I thought I would squeeze in would be like, oh yeah, let's look, because I decided, oh hey, Mike Evans is on a bye, so I'm going to start Travis Fulgham. He's going to bounce back. Nope, did not bounce back. So looking at what we got this week, okay, so Corey Davis was the one that I have him in a couple other leagues, and it was like, should I just pick him up on my last pick? And I didn't, and that would have helped my little blowout, along with not starting Justin Herbert against New England. So also, side note, now that Justin Herbert has Justin Jackson coming into the lineup, that's going to help their run game, and you always want another facet of your run game back. So now that they have Austin Eckler and they have Justin Jackson, this is going to be very helpful to their team. Alrighty, so we're keeping Corey Davis. We're obviously going to Mike Davis. I mean, this guy, let's look at what he's got this season. So his stats this season, if we're looking at it, I mean, his receiving yards are not there, but look at this. Look at those touchdowns. He's got 11 receiving TDs already. We are keeping this guy in 100%. Dalvin Cook is a beast. He's one of the rushing leaders. He's just behind Derrick Henry, but look at that. 13 rushing TDs. Darren Waller, solid. He's the second best tight end in this league behind Travis Kelce. I mean, Travis Kelce is bar none ahead of people. So I definitely have the advantages at these two positions with Corey Davis on a hot streak right now. So we're hoping that that trend continues. And if you were lucky enough to pick up this guy, James Robinson, he has been amazing. Usually when I draft every year, there's always a rookie that I'm looking forward to. And, you know, you got to always draft a rookie on your team. Most likely, I always try to pick a rookie running back that has a chance to win out a starting job. And this was the guy that I went across in all 5 leagues. I went all in on him, got him basically like either last pick or I got him around like second to last pick. He was just not on anyone's radar, and he blew up for me. So you're going to see a lot of James Robinson in all of my starting lineups. So we got this. This is all good. Now, here's the interesting thing. For my defenses this week, I got Arizona and I got Cleveland. It's who am I going to trust? Am I going to trust Arizona's defense going against Daniel Jones now that he's coming back? Or am I going to trust it going against Cleveland's defense now that they got Daniel Jones, the starting quarterback for the Giants, and we got Cleveland's defense, which their defensive player Myles Garrett came back. So let's look at how they did last week. So last week against the Rams, which they are a pretty tough team, they really didn't do well. But again, this was a team that was leading in rushing. However, though, the Giants team is pretty banged up. They're just starting to get it together. Their defense holds up. However, though, that's what happened. And last week, Cleveland was surprising against Tennessee. That they gave up 35 points, and they were able to get 3 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries, and an interception. So this to me is kind of tough because they are playing against Baltimore, which is a rival. They are home, and it's kind of split between who do I go with right here. You know, can they contain Lamar Jackson? You know, let's look at possibly how they did in previous weeks. So have they played against Cleveland? Oh, let's scroll up. There they are. They're playing Baltimore. They are Cleveland. So week 1 they played against Baltimore, and they got routed 38-6. Baltimore has all 3 of their running backs. This one is kind of iffy for me. You know, like, is it going to basically be this, or was this just getting the bad things out of the way when they didn't do so well against Baltimore at the beginning of the season? So this one's tough. Looking at my matchup this week, again, I'm going against the number 1 team in this league. So I got to make sure that I try to take him down. I mean, he's got Seattle's defense against the Jets. They just fired their defensive coordinator, so maybe they're a little bit motivated to shut down Russell Wilson. So right here, I am not too sure which way I'm going to roll. If I'm going to go with Arizona or the Giants. Maybe do a little last-minute tinker-stinker for the Implosion Inedible team. And let's go ahead and... do we ride that Cleveland defense? I think we do. They've been a little bit more on fire lately, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to pop them in. Come on. What's happening with you? There we go. Now we got the Cleveland defense in there. That's what we want. Do we want the classic mode? I think I always like classic mode. Yeah. I like classic mode where you can just kind of drop and do it that way. You know, the swapping is nice, but I do like the actual, like, oh, hey, I'm going to put that on my bench. And there they are. Nope. I want them as my starting defense. I'm going to save those changes. There we are, right? Let's just double check our matchup right now. We had Cooper Kupp, who actually scored a TD. Wasn't too bad, but we think Corey Davis can do a little bit more. Let me just go ahead and look at my matchup just to make sure that I'm all set. Justin Herbert, Corey Davis, Mike Evans, Dalvin Cook, Darren Waller, James Robinson, and Cleveland's defense. Alrighty. We got ourselves a little fighting chance. I am the underdog, but let's do this. Alrighty. So we are done with that one. On to the next one. The king is tired in my Game of Pigskins lead. Alright. So looking at what we got over here, this is a 12-team league that we are split into different divisions. If you can see the standings, here's what we got. I am currently in 7th place with an outside an outside chance to get into the playoffs. What I need to happen is I need Taylor slash Swift to lose. This person has Taylor. Do they have Tyrod Taylor? I think they have DeAndre Swift and Tyrod Taylor on this team at some point. So that's why they are Taylor Swift. I need the Hollywood Knights to lose, and I need Daenerys Targaryen to lose. This was a Game of Thrones themed league. I do like this team. Team Unfair Bullshit. That's probably one of my favorite team names right there. It's just hilarious. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and look at my matchup, who I'm playing against this week. So I'm playing against the Crazy Rich Christians, in which this kind of maybe favors me a little bit because it's kind of a little bit of a taco buy. They haven't had their wide receiver in for the last 3 weeks. So, however, though, I still need to play to win this game. The spot start that I made that was kind of interesting, if you look, is I decided to get Cam Akers. Cam Akers was just sitting out there, and I decided to scoop it up. I mean, at early on in the season, I drafted Darrell Henderson, and I dropped him. I mean, this basic season is just basically me just picking up players and dropping them right before they get hot. So Darrell Henderson dropped. I dropped the Rams defense. I dropped Naheem Himes. So I mean, this has just been an utter garbage season for me, but still in the hunt, as well as Cooper Kupp has just been plaguing me with just why do I start him each week decisions. So let's look at what we got. So I got Kyler Murray against the New York Giants, and I got Josh Allen against Pittsburgh. This is kind of something that I'm just very weary of just starting Josh Allen against the #1 defense in the league. So he's given up Pittsburgh has given up the second fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks this season. So this is kind of a Yeah, they're both tough matchups. The New York Giants is having a defense that is improving. However, though, I am going to trust a little bit more in Kyler Murray this week. Tyreek Hill, I mean, he's the #1 wide receiver, so this has kind of been bailing me out. And so where I run in conflict is, who do I start at my other wide receiver spot? So Marquise Brown has not been showing up for me. Antonio Brown is kind of that wild card as to where, this might be the Sunday where he's going off. So looking at his notes, I mean, has he done anything crazy? That's just going to kind of warrant me benching him. That type of thing. Did he destroy somebody else's camera? So that's just something that we are looking into as far as what's going to happen with that. And if any of you viewers have any questions, feel free to chat in, like, hey, who should I start, such and such player? I can try and give you my advice just to let you know what I'm doing. Who knows? We'll see. Alrighty. I also got this wild card in Kiki Coty. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Pardon me, sir, if I did not. He's expected to play against this Sunday. So he can be a solid wide receiver 3. So since Will Fuller went down, Will Fuller was another draft pick in one of my other leagues that, hey, he was working out and, looked to be the heir apparent since Hopkins had left. So who do we end up keeping there? Same situation here too. I got Arizona and Cleveland's defense, so we're just holding tight right there. Pretty much running back, I am set here between James Robinson and Nick Chubb, so we're just going to hold tight. The only question mark is basically just, do I roll with Antonio Brown? So we can go with his projected stats. Hey, what's he projected to get? What's he projected for today? Antonio Brown. Oh, and also knowing in this league setting, we have PPR as well too. So that is what we are going with right now. Because we always want to make sure that we check our league settings. This league is PPR. Let's just take a quick look and jaunter at this. Alright, let's grab that settings right quick. So 12 teams, PPR, 6 points per touchdown, so they do 20 yards per passing TD, -2 for interceptions, so that's the only thing different. Instead of doing 0.5 PPR, we do a full point, and 10 yards per rush, 10 yards per receiving. So PPR is definitely heavy, so it's basically, who do I think is going to get more receptions, Antonio Brown, or do I think it's going to be Mr. Kiki? Maybe you might see me pull a little fastball within the last hour just to swap them out. So we're going to keep it as stat. Again, we want to diversify over here. So I'm going to, instead of starting Cleveland over here, I'm going to start Arizona. We'll see. That may change in the last hour. Again, little tinker. But, you know, our lineup looks pretty solid and looks ready to go. And looking at the matchups. So just to understand what we have going on, let's look at all of the matchups out here. So maybe back at the league overview so we can see. Yes, there we go. So currently, who I need to lose is I need Daenerys Targaryen to lose, I need the Hollywood Knights, and I need Taylor Swift to lose. So currently, Hollywood Knights is projected to go under. I've been chasing this imp and ain't easy, but they just been winning. So, which has been good because they're in the same division as Daenerys Targaryen, and they knocked them down last week. And last week's win would have put me in 4th place with Spot just having just to win out and not rely on anyone to lose. However, though, we are doing it this way. Hey, we got another viewer that has come in. All right, welcome. Any fantasy football questions? Anything you want to ask, just go ahead and type it in. Oh, any advice on who to start, Lamar Jackson or Justin Herbert? Thanks, Buffy420. I am definitely all about Justin Herbert right now. I mean, if you're just looking at the passing, I think last week was a complete aberration where Justin Herbert has failed. Normally, I do not rely on rookie quarterbacks. However, Lamar Jackson, Cleveland may have him figured out with the fact that Myles Garrett is coming back. Justin Herbert going against Atlanta's defense, which are basically just kind of Swiss cheese. So I'm definitely going Justin Herbert on this 100%. He's been on fire last week. I mean, New England's defense is... Bill Belichick has rookies pegged. I mean, he'll throw things at them and change them in and out as to where, like, oh yeah, he'll make a rookie look ridiculous. And basically, he made the entire San Diego team look ridiculous. I mean, they couldn't stop them on defense. They couldn't stop them on special teams. So that was just a failing on all levels. Not necessarily Justin Herbert's fault. He's going to completely bounce back this week. I think Lamar Jackson just gets boxed in. Myles Garrett is going to be too much. And yeah, so we're rolling with Justin Herbert and the fact that Keenan Allen is a monster. I have Keenan Allen in 2 leagues. So that's the way to go. So thank you again, Buffx420 for your question. I appreciate that. Any more, just keep them rolling. As I see it, I will go. Alrighty, so we just need Hollywood Knights to lose. That's looking good. Daenerys Targaryen, Team Unfair Bullshit. That's gonna kind of be close. And we just need, you're welcome. Thank you again. Oh yeah, of course. Anything I can do, you know, like, hey, you know, if I could be a pro fantasy football guy and have the time, I would totally love just to be able just to do all the amount of research, but this is what I do. Oh, another question. Oh, we got Jars. AB or Gallup? That is a great question. Antonio Brown or Michael Gallup. So Gallup, the wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going Antonio Bryant right here. Just because of Antonio Brown. There's a flashback name from back in the day. Man, I should have the chat over here so that way people can see what's happening. So I'll get that all set up the next time. Definitely going Antonio Brown, not Gallup. Just because of quarterback situation. You got the Dallas Cowboys. Let me just grab my team right quick because I do have Amari Cooper in 1 league, so that's in my Yahoo Public League. Oh, let's just do it this way. I always like to have this out so that way we can go through my teams one by one. Yes, I agree. AB is due for a breakout. I mean, you just kind of see like, hey, he's just kind of stacking it. We still don't know with what's happening with Chris Godwin. I think that's also the key. So let's look at this. Let's grab this right quick. They're playing against Cincinnati. You know, it's almost like, yeah, but the thing is that Andy Dalton is the quarterback. Yeah, you know, revenge game for Andy Dalton, though. I mean, it can be, but, I mean, realistically, you got to think of who is actually going to be getting those receptions there. because it's basically Amari Cooper has had a pretty decent stretch over the last. So I'm looking at how how Amari Cooper has been over the last 4 weeks. 236 receiving yards with 2 TDs. Great question. Look at that, man. I got some things going. All right, so now let's grab. Okay, what I need to do is I need to grab something. Let me just put this window so I can grab this in the chat, so that way people can see this. I didn't know why I did this on the start. This is my first weekend doing this, but let's go ahead and let's just grab a little window capture right there. Grab window capture 2. Let's grab our little Twitch. Give me 1 second, so that way we can see it. Alrighty. Okay. Hey, you guys get to see the little sausage being made behind. There we go. So I can just add in your chat, and then I will come in and add your question. Alrighty. So there we go. We got the little chat window going. Alright, let's just bring this in. The magic of OBS. Alright. So we're just going to add that right in there. Okay. So let's go back to BuffX's last question, which is basically, also I need to start 1 running back and 1 flex. I have Drake, Gallman, Josh Jacobs, or Mike Davis. Alrighty, so we know we got Kenyon Drake that is going against the we got Kenyon Drake that's going against the New York Giants. We got Gallman who's going against the Cardinals. Josh Jacobs, let me just take a quick gander at one of my leagues so I can just figure out who he is going up against. The Raiders. The Raiders are going up against Indianapolis. Oof. And especially Josh Jacobs coming off an injury. That's just kind of tough for me. Man, that one's kind of tough. Let's see. Going back over here. Yes, I definitely think I have Teddy Bridgewater on one of these teams that I just kind of decided to snag, so I can see who Carolina is playing against. Christian McCaffrey, they're playing against Denver at home. So if we are looking at, Jars is recommending Gallman and Jacobs. Gallman is pretty hot. I'm definitely thinking Gallman over Drake, just because of the fact that it's going to be basically Edmonds and Drake have basically been splitting. Although did Drake have 1 or 2 TDs last week? So that's kind of the one. But Josh Jacobs, I think this is actually a good position to be in. At some point, you think that Gallman is going to fall through the cracks. If New York Giants stick to the script, Gallman should have a pretty decent game. And Jacobs over Mike Davis, I just think that they're just completely depleted on Carolina, because they are just now getting Curtis Samuel back from the COVID list as well too. So they're just trying to figure out some of those pieces. So like Jars was saying, I think I would definitely go with Gallman and Jacobs. So and yes, I'm driving myself nuts. It's week 1. Oh, week 1 playoffs. Yes. So looking at one of my other leagues. All right. So I got to make sure that all my picks are in first of all. Alrighty, so looking at my lineup, let's go back to Game of Pigskins. Let's get this all sorted and squared away. Thank you for your questions. I appreciate them. Keep them coming. I'll try to answer it. I got to make sure that I get my lineup in, of course. But hey, this is what we do. We're a community here. We help them out. All right, so it was basically Antonio Brown or Kiki Couture. I think he's going to break out this week as well, too, against Minnesota. I mean, they're just going to keep feeding the ball to Dalvin Cook over and over again. They got Thielen and Justin Jefferson, so Minnesota is going to be scoring points against Tampa. I don't see Tampa holding them to under 20, so we're going to see a lot of throwing, so I'm going with that. All right, so that takes care of Game of Pigskins. Going back, Mr. McCastrick. This is the league that my wife is in, so it's an 8-team league with my father-in-law as well, too, so the wife and father-in-law are in there as well. So looking at what we got here, next week is going to be the playoffs. So we got the playoffs going. Oh, by the way, thank you for the follow, BuffX420. I really appreciate it. So myself personally, I love to play board games. However, though, my big passion is fantasy football on the side. So I've tried to figure out how to stream this and give advice, share my teams, and let you know what I'm going to do. Alrighty. So currently, as it stands, I'm going to most likely be in the playoffs. However, though, we still need to get those points ramped up because of the fact that, hey, this has to do with seeding. My wife, Mrs. McGiblets, is currently kicking everyone's ass because she had the foresight to make sure that, hey, she was going to draft Dalvin Cook and Devontae Adams at the turn at the end of the round. And so she's just kind of been on fire. Her only weakness is basically has been Deshaun Watson, her quarterback. Everyone else on her team is pretty fucking solid. So this is my wife who's been listening to my advice for years and just decided, oh, I'm just going to take it. So, yeah. So, all right, let's go ahead and look at my team and let's figure out who I need to start. Alrighty. It's pretty much set. I mean, I got Patrick Mahomes. I mean, you're locking and load Patrick Mahomes. However, though, I did draft Aaron Rodgers late, so I had the foresight to see that. But we're going to keep him on the bench because Patrick Mahomes is basically the only quarterback where you're just going to sit there and go like, yeah, why wouldn't I start him? No, everyone else, I think you can always question. My other league, I had Kyler Murray and Josh Allen, so it was kind of a flip. Same thing with my other one. I have Josh Allen and I have Justin Herbert, and I decided to go Justin Herbert over Josh Allen. So we are keeping Keenan Allen. That is 100% we are keeping in Keenan Allen. We got Michael Thomas as my second wide receiver. Let's look at the projected stats just to see what we got. And our league settings. This one is actually going to be a 0.5 PPR. So it's not a full PPR. It's just like a Yahoo, a 0.5 PPR on this one. Alrighty. So looking at what we got over here, as far as my wide receivers, I do got Stephon Diggs, I do got Chase Claypool, and I got Michael Thomas. And it's basically, what do I figure? Do I figure, is Stephon Diggs going to hold up against against Pittsburgh's defense, or do I feel that, hey, Taysom Hill is starting to make some progress with his wide receivers? And looking at their stats from the last few weeks, Michael Thomas has 286 receiving yards. Stephon Diggs has 224 yards. However, though, Stephon Diggs did have a bye in the last couple weeks, I believe. Yes, he had a bye in the last couple weeks, so we could probably pump in another 80 yards to say that, hey, over the last 4 weeks, from weeks 10 to 14, he basically would have had 300 receiving yards, as well as maybe another touchdown or two. So, but again, they're playing against Pittsburgh, so this is going to be a real tight game going against one another. So instinct would be Stephon Diggs. However, though, I'm going to stick with Michael Thomas on this one. I mean, James Robinson, you're just locking and loading. Hey, Ingle Doom, how's it going, my friend? By the way, if you guys can check out CR Ingledoom, man, I got to get those links loaded up, man, because I got to start doing that. CRGR, that's the CR Game Room. That's a group that I play Dice Masters with, as well as every Friday night we play Among Us. Oh, no, you overslept. No, bro. If you enjoy retro arcade games, check out CR Ingledoom's channel. He just got affiliated. He is awesome. I'm totally geeked, and I am totally excited about my friend over here. So, yeah, please give him a check and follow. I got to set up how they do. Basically, it's like, oh, yeah, we see our friend, and then, boom, we just pop in the link over there. But, yes, click on his profile. Check out CRGR Ingledoom. He's awesome. He's one of the great homies. So, yes. Yeah, you guys are playing, what was it, Commander. They were playing Magic the Gathering Commander last night, so that was pretty awesome. Alrighty, so going back over here, I mean, you got Aaron Jones. I mean, these are basically two guys that, I'm just not changing it out. So it's basically like, hey, who am I going to put in my flex spot over here? Do I go with Adam Thielen against Tampa Bay, which could be high scoring? Do I go with Austin Eckler against Atlanta? Now, normally if you see this red spot over here, right, like against like Atlanta's defense, like, they're pretty stiff against the running backs just because of the fact that they're always like throwing. However, though, Austin Eckler's strength is that he's a receiving running back. So especially against what's happening with Atlanta, I think we're going to see a lot of Austin Eckler, especially now that hamstring is warming up right. So we are going to keep Austin Eckler in. Alrighty, and we got Cleveland and Miami's defense. Um, yes, so we're definitely going Cleveland instead of Miami. They're playing Kansas City. We're just kind of done with that. We are not starting Miami's defense against Kansas City, but they couldn't end up surprising. Alrighty, got to do a little bit of house cleaning. So I have Antonio Gibson. Normally I would start him. He is out, but I also have Adam Thielen who's on IR. I still had him on my COVID list, so I need to, if I want any chance of maybe using him, I need to move him to IR. So bye-bye, Antonio Gibson, you're going there. And Adam Thielen, I need to put you on the bench. And there we go. Alrighty, so, and at this point, we are looking good for our lineup. Jason Myers against Seattle. Yeah, we're good with that. Alrighty, so we are all set for that one. Alright, 2 more leagues, and then we're going to go on to the official Reddit accuracy challenge, the NAR Football League. The basically, who do I start? So this one, currently I have a bye, so looking at the current league standings right now. This is an 18. This is my father-in-law's money league where basically if you win out in points before the bye season, you get half the pot, as well as if you get if you win the league, then you get the other half of the pot. So if we want to look at the stats breakdown, come on, how do we end up doing that? On this one, it's so much nicer on mobile for that one. However, though, I was basically 10 points shy of Legacy, who got this on this one, so they are currently the #1 seed, Legacy, right now. So I have a bye. What you need to make sure that you always do if you have if you're on a bye, this may seem, I don't know if you know this little trick, but make sure that your entire roster is benched when you are on a bye. Why do you do this? Well, if a player goes down and they're basically like, oh shoot, they're done, they're like injured, you can actually drop them and pick up another player that is available for you to pick up if their game hasn't started yet. So this is kind of a key, especially when you are on a bye. Make sure that your entire offense is, your entire lineup is benched. So that way, if something goes wrong with that player, you can drop them. If they're stuck in a starting lineup, they cannot be dropped. They would have to go through a waiver process and wait for waivers to be cleared. So a little bit of a pro tip, make sure that if you are on a bye, you have all of your players benched. Alrighty, on to my last league, the Yahoo Public League. Like I said, always throw in one public league because, hey, either you're going to get to see somebody who's doing pretty well and like, oh, maybe I should pick up on their picks and take them over to my league, or you just need a little beat 'em up. So, all right, so let's look at my team currently in first with the playoffs happening next week. So here's the schedule and our playoffs. So currently I'm projected to be #1 in the playoffs for next week. It's pretty much a guarantee that I'm making the playoffs. There's no way that I'm not making it. The question is, hey, do I want to take that extra win in there? And that is exactly what I'm going to do. So let's look at my team. Now I got to make some roster moves because of the fact that I have a little bit of a situation going on here. #1, my running back. He is on the COVID list that I was planning to start today. So I need to move him to my IR slot. And that's what we are going to do. We are moving Myles Gaskin over to the IR spot. Now, I would have picked up his backup running back, but I think somebody poached it from me last night. All right. And Antonio Gibson is out, so we are going to move him to IR because he's not available. Oh, I'm only allowed 1 IR. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. I need to move Zach Ertz to the bench. There we go. All right. So, there we go. Sorry. So, I got Antonio Gibson. I got Myles Gaskin. They are both in the IR. I am allowed 2 IR spots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to need to pick up a player. So I'm pretty set on wide receivers. I got Keenan Allen and DeAndre Hopkins. James Robinson. Hey, there's another familiar name right there. We're back at it again with him. All right, and now it's basically figuring out who on the waiver wire do I need to pick up to make sure that my playoffs are successful. So we're going to go ahead and look at who's going to be available on there. We want all available players. We want wide receivers and we want running backs because we want to see who's out there. Especially we want to know who the top running backs are out there. Corey Davis is out there and available in this league. That is interesting. That would be one that we would definitely consider. We can also look at the percentage that are rostered, so I'll do it that way. Joe Mixon, we got Wayne Gallman. So just to prevent somebody else from picking up Wayne Gallman, I'm going to definitely pick up Wayne Gallman and have him on my roster. That's what we want. Free agent Wayne Gallman. We are going to add Wayne Gallman. We don't need to drop anyone. So we are going to do that. And looking at my spot, boom, we have Wayne Gallman now on our team. He was available in this league. Again, you never know what treasures you're going to find on your league. Alrighty. Okay, now let's looking at what we got over here. Do we have any more players? Let's see. Do we have any more players available that we can get? Let's get percentage rostered. Corey Davis is up there. Can I get Corey Davis? Alrighty. Add free agent. Ooh, I would have to drop somebody. So the question is, who would I drop for him? Zach Ertz, you're really not going to be doing anything for me since I got Evan Ingram out here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to drop Zach Ertz because Corey Davis is pretty good. We're going to add Corey and drop Zach Ertz. And there we go. Alrighty. So now the question is, who do we put in that flex spot? Alright. So let's look at our projected stats for this week. And Naheem Hines versus the Raiders. Again, sometimes you have to go with your gut, not necessarily going with who's basically going to be the best spot for him. In this case, Corey Davis against Jacksonville. I always like putting running backs in there just because I know they're going to get the bulk of the work. So we're going to put our boy Wayne Gallman up in here because we think he is going to be getting the lion's share of things to come. So let's just grab Wayne Gallman. Why is this not working? There we go. And let's put him in there. Boom, we got it. Let's check our matchup. I got the Raiders kicker. Do I want him on my team? Let's see who's out there. Maybe I can grab another kicker instead. Alright, let's looking at kickers right now. Man, if you were lucky enough to pick up that kicker from whatchamacallit. Oh, yes, Sanders. Oh, these two guys. Sanders and we got Tyler Bass. And Rodrigo Blankenship. Ooh, those are... I definitely am more along the lines to grab Rodrigo Blankenship over the Raiders kicker. So let's go ahead and let's drop Mr. Carlson. Bye-bye, sir. Let's add and drop him. And let's go ahead and let's put him in. You are my kicker. All right, let's check our matchups. Let's make sure that our matchup is locked in. That we got a starting player in each one. We are ready to go. DeAndre Hopkins has a note. We should just check that out. New York has given up the 14th most fewest fantasy points wide receivers, but it is Hopkins, so why would we deviate from that plan? Hopkins is amazing. Cincinnati, yeah, we're gonna make sure that I think this is the week that Ezekiel Elliott gets fed. So, revenge game 4. Let's look at my lineup. Do I go with 2 Cowboys or do I go with 2 Giants on this one? Because I do have Amari Cooper, but I do like having a running back in that slot, so we are okay. Normally, when it comes to the flex spot, we always like to have the later game go. However, though, because it's 10 a.m., 10 a.m., and 10 a.m., it doesn't matter who goes in there. Alrighty. Alright, so we are all done with Yahoo Fantasy. The last thing that we are going to do is we need to do the Fantasy Football Accuracy Challenge for Week 14. So the question is, first of all, who's going to have the better week? Is it going to be Patrick Mahomes or is it going to be Russell Wilson? We're going to go with Russell Wilson because of the fact that the Jets defense is shit. They just fired Greg Williams. Normally I don't advocate for somebody getting fired, but this is the only defensive coach that I would want fired just because of the fact of his little bounty gate thing. You don't put bounties on players. You don't have your players when he was back in New Orleans. So he was rightfully suspended indefinitely from there. However, they let his ass back in the league and he was coaching Cleveland's defense on the year that Myles Garrett, was it last year he was with Myles Garrett? No, it may have not been, but yeah, just all in, I just dislike that guy. All right, so we got Ben Roethlisberger versus the Steelers versus Buffalo, and we got Tom Brady versus Minnesota. We are going with Brady on this one. Buffalo's defense is going to hang in there. Andy Dalton at Cincinnati versus Jalen Hurts in New Orleans. New Orleans has a good defense. We're going to go with the Red Rifle on this one. David Montgomery versus Myles Gaskin. They're going to end up wiping this out because he's on the COVID list, so David Montgomery it is. Ezekiel Elliott versus Cincinnati, or Nick Chubb versus Baltimore. Dark horses, I'm going to go with Nick Chubb. He's going to squeak. He's going to have probably 10 carries for maybe 20 yards, and all of a sudden he's going to break off a 70-yarder for a TD. So we're going with that. Alrighty, the battle of the backups. Jamal Williams and Adrian Peterson. This is Lions and Green Bay. Jamal Williams has been getting the ball more, especially he's been getting some red zone touches. So we're going to go with Jamal Williams on this one. Calvin Ridley or Julio Jones against the Chargers. Calvin Ridley has just been taken off this year. We are going Calvin Ridley. Justin Jefferson against Tampa Bay or Adam Thielen. The question is, who does Tampa Bay give up balls to more? Deep threats or basically guys who move the sticks after 10 to 15 yards? Justin Jefferson's going off. Wide receiver, Mike Evans or Chris Godwin? That finger, I think, is still bothering Chris Godwin after surgery. He just had those pins removed, so we are going Mike Evans on this one. Alrighty, tight end. Dallas Goedert, Eagles versus New Orleans, or Ron Gronkowski versus Minnesota. Goddard is now going to be in a timeshare with who's going to basically running more routes between him and Zach Ertz. So now that they're working Zach Ertz in more now, so basically, does he get the receptions and the yards, or is Gronk and his TD going to get it? I'm going to say Gronk and the TD is going to get it. Flex, Keenan Allen or Austin Eckler. This is Keenan Allen all the way. This guy is a beast of a receiver. All right, flex, DK Metcalf, James Robinson, or Travis Kelce versus Miami. Oof, this is a tough one. DK Metcalf has the ability to go off for at least 10 catches, 100 yards against the Jets for 2 TDs. Robinson, he's going to see 25 carries in this game, no doubt. The question is, will it be 25 carries for 100 yards and 2 TDs, or 25 carries for 80 yards? So we're going to hold off on Robinson. Then you got the number 1 tight end, Kelce. So between Metcalf and Kelce, Miami's defense, they are pretty decent against the tight ends. We are going to go with DK Metcalf. Alrighty, in the flex, Gallman, Debo, Cole Beasley, and Ronald Jones versus Minnesota. Ronald Jones it was starting to look like a timeshare in Tampa Bay between him and Fournette. However, though, he's just kind of been pulling himself out. As long as he doesn't fumble the ball, I think he'll be all right. But Gallman is on a hot streak. And now that they got Daniel Jones back, does that dip into the fact that Daniel Jones is a running quarterback? And then Cole Beasley has been on fire, man. That guy. They're going to lock in on whatchamacallit. I think I'm going to go Cole Beasley on this one. This is a little bit of a dark horse here. I'd like to go Gallman, but man, especially this being kind of PPR, that might happen. Alrighty. 49ers versus Washington's defense, or Panthers versus Denver. We are going Panthers versus 49ers bounce back game this week against Washington. So no Antonio Gibson. That's a plus. They're still going against Alex Smith and the emergence of Logan Thomas. That defense, I think the 49ers bounce back on this one. All right, Chargers versus Atlanta and Falcons versus the Chargers. We're picking the Chargers on this one. All right, how many total yards will Josh Allen have against Pittsburgh? That's the tiebreaker. We're going to go about 295 because I don't think he breaks the 300-yard passing threshold, and they keep him for about 250 yards passing, maybe 45 yards rushing. So we're going to keep that on there. We are all locked and loaded. So thank you once again for tuning into my stream. This is my second stream on Twitch. I've been doing them on YouTube, but now we're going to move this over to Twitch for all live stuff. Thank you once again. Thank you for the CR Game Room for stopping by, and CR Ingledoom. I'm going to be rating a channel right now, so again, I'm looking forward to doing this again each and every weekend for fantasy football. And next week we have playoffs, so if you need more advice for playoffs, I'm going to be here for you, as well as maybe some tips for the future. So thank you once again for stopping by. Let's see who we can raid right now. Oh, we can raid in Final Ross Battle right now. Excellent streamer. I usually play Dice Masters with him on Tuesday. So he runs a nice weekly dice arena. So thank you once again, and enjoy as we raid Ross. Alrighty, let's go ahead and raid him. Thank you all. Appreciate it. No problem, Ingledoom. Alright, let's raid him right now.